like she's every bit of 60 something. I'm here, Miss Howell. Yes, ma'am, I'm here. Chief Thompson.
One has jurisdiction, but we follow him. It's always a problem for me to go. Gotta make people scared.
Hey, how are you?
Probably in the middle now.
Don't worry about that. Hey, man. You doing good, man? Good, good.
Murphy's Law. Yeah. It can happen, it's gonna happen.
Right. No church, right? Right, yeah, we're on no church, yeah. It's the sheriff's office. Yep, yep, thank you. Thank you very much. Have a good day.
I am right now.
A lot of that going around lately.
I'm finna start quite a place called Shooting Meats. I'm going to. They got food. Yeah, they got meats, chicken wings. Already cooked? Well, no, I gotta just buy something to take home. It's about cool, so I can take it back. It's a great price. Good price? Yeah. So I need to get a cookie too? Yeah, fuck no. Take it here. I can't go? There you go. Do I need to get a cook? No. So you going back, where you going? I gotta go, you know, when to go? When I get ready? They fried. They said they're gonna do some protest. I said, oh, did you right now? Well, we get one. They told me I'm getting one. They told you when? They said today. Today? We'll get a protest. Yeah. I watched that stand last night, but two of those. What president? The president. He was probably two. Yeah, you see they do. I want things up there. Hey, they said they're gonna change it. I don't turn my TV off and saying I don't want to watch it every morning. They don't even turn it on. It's just like you got to watch it, man. That's the best thing with time. After the disinfectant thing, I have to watch it every day. No, that's when I stopped watching. I said, no, that piece on, huh? This is that. You come to my house. Is this still coming? If the governor says, when he was talking about this, I think he was talking, but it sounds like he was listening. You've been shocked, you know, the boy paid. You've been shocked. I'm telling you, you've been shocked. No, and he was 100%. Today you need to put it that shit. Be talking. That's when you're not saying 4 days off. And saying I got 3 days off. I got 3 days. Really? If I can have 3 days. Almost right. It's almost right.
One is working today, and two is working night, and two is working night.
This one is catch
The driver's what? No. They start school on the 13th. They start school on the 13th. You got one here going to school on the 13th. Driver's what? That's why I can't come up with this.
Oh, wow. That's gonna be nice.
I can't talk to you. You're hurting. Yes. They got a protest that, it's just fine. He says, how many people? Yes, it's going on now.
Well, thank you all for attending today. This is a very important press conference today. It's going to begin with Chief Thompson of the Winston-Salem Police Department making a joint statement for the two agencies. Then Sheriff Kimbrough will also be making a statement. After that, we will open the floor for questions. Chief Thompson.
Thank you. Good afternoon. Before I begin with the statement from both myself and Sheriff Bobby Kimbrough, I'd like to start out by saying that here in Winston-Salem, we right now are sitting in the middle of 4 homicides in the last week. These are issues that we have to and must address, and that will be forthcoming. At this time, I'd like to address the issues as many phone calls and emails come in to both my office and the office of the sheriff as it relates to the incident that occurred in Minneapolis. As your chief of police and sheriff of Forsyth County, we are very saddened and stricken by the tragic events that have unfolded in Minneapolis. On behalf of the Winston-Salem Police Department and the Forsyth County Sheriff's Office here in North Carolina, we extend our sincere condolences to the families of Mr. George Floyd, as well as the community in the Minneapolis area who are struggling to deal with the aftermath of this incident. This event has sparked outrage and fear in our nation. The actions and inactions of the officers involved are in contrast with the values of both our department, the profession, and humanity as a whole. Mr. Floyd, as well as every other person that encounters law enforcement, deserves respect, compassion, and empathy. The members of the Winston-Salem Police Department and Forsyth County Sheriff's Office continue to work tirelessly to build trust and relationships with the communities we serve. We see our role as public servants and protectors as a noble calling. It requires a deep dedication to fair and impartial professional law enforcement services. Our women and men enter this profession with a sincere desire to preserve and respect the sanctity of life. The Winston-Salem Police Department and Forsyth County Sheriff's Office employees are trained annually on bias-based policing and follow this training up with strict policies that prohibits it. We continuously review our policies to ensure we are up to date with best practices. The behaviors witnessed by the officers with Mr. Floyd are unacceptable and would be in conflict with our policies, practices, and values. As such, every police officer, patrol officer, is equipped with body-worn cameras and is required to utilize them in every encounter with our citizens to ensure accountability. This policy, as well as all others, are audited for compliance continuously. These policies and practices are in place to ensure that our employees are adhering to the standards of fair treatment, dignity, equality, and respect to all individuals we encounter every day. The actions demonstrated by the officers in this incident serves to decimate the fabric of public trust in the community, and thus the officers involved should be held accountable, and all other officers will have to help to restore the legitimacy. The Winston-Salem Police Department and Forsyth County Sheriff's Office welcome our residents to continue to communicate with us to build stronger unions for the safety and well-being of all residents. One innocent life lost is too many. We give this community our solemn pledge that we will continue to be fully transparent and continue in an effort to build relationships and maintain an environment of openness and respect for all. Our recovery as a community from tragic events such as this will be difficult, but we will get through it together. In unity, there is healing. Sincerely, the Winston-Salem Police Department and Forsyth County Sheriff's Office in North Carolina.
First of all, I'd like to say good evening. Make no mistake about it, I stand in solidarity with what the chief said. But also, I understand the anger and the frustration that the people feel in Minneapolis, because before I was the sheriff, before I was a special agent, before I was a probation officer, before I was a police, I was a black man. And long after I'm no longer the sheriff, I'm still going to be a black man. I understand profiling. I understand it firsthand. I've experienced this multiple times in my career. But what I would tell you, like many of you across this city, this county, this country, I was horrified. I was angry. Tears welled up in my eyes when I saw that. I probably said some words I shouldn't have said because it angered me. Because what I realized is that that one-man action, he took away from everybody that wears a badge, whether it's a local, state, or federal badge. He took away of everything that I get up and do every day to build community credibility. And even though it happened miles and miles away from here, it affects us here. The inability for one man to lose breath in the manner in which he did, it affects this whole country as how we breathe as a country. And to me, if you are a human being, regardless of your race, your party affiliation, you should be offended by that. You should be offended. And I say that because we can never become so entrenched in our racism, our party lines, that we become blinded by the truth. And the truth of the matter is that that's a problem, what happened. That's an issue. I've been in law enforcement for 36 years. I've never seen nowhere where that particular procedure is taught. And so I felt the need to speak out, not only as the sheriff of this county, not only as a black man, but as a man. And I think that there's so much going on in this country, so much, that, you know, people say we in this together, but we on different boats. Some of us are on real live sea cruise liners, and some of us in canoes. And we're being affected by the storm in so many different ways. And so what I'm saying as it relates to this county, I can assure you that I will not tolerate any kind of ism if it's brought to my attention, if I see it. I have zero tolerance for that. I do. Because it breaks down not only this law enforcement professionalism, but it breaks down the community. It affects how we see one another. It does. We've got to change that, because we in this together. We are truly in this together. Something as far away in Minneapolis is affecting us here. My phone has been jumping. What do you think about that, Kimbrough? What do you think about that? I was trying to mourn the loss of my grandmother. And I showed up at the funeral home to view her body. And when I got there, all of my brothers from across the state sheriffs were there. And it brought tears to my eyes that they thought enough of me in times like this. What I'm saying is that we've got to stand together against wrong. It can't be the day where blacks are just protesting against what is wrong. It has to be black, white, Latino. It has to be all of us protesting against what is wrong. That's the way it changes. That's the way it changes. I will tell you, because I know someone in the room is going to ask the question, the burning and the looting, I'm not with that. That is wrong. That is wrong. But I understand the anger that the voiceless and the hopeless have. I understand that. I do. My 15-year-old came in my room last night, and I was sharing this with my guys this morning. He came in my room last night, and he said, "Daddy," which I know his girlfriend is Caucasian. I've taken him to her house. And he said, "Daddy, we're having a conversation on the phone, and she's saying what is happening there is wrong. And I'm telling her that what's happening there is because the people are mad." And he said, "Daddy, tell me which is right and which is wrong." And I had to sit down with my 16-year-old son and explain to him that he cannot let what one man does or one incident affect how he feels about a girl that he cares about. And people are having conversations across this country, real conversations. And we've got to stop that, because we're losing lives. My condolences goes out to the Floyd family, even the families before that. And God, I hope that we don't have families after that, but I know we will. And so I felt the need to express that, because as a person in this community, I need to say that. But what I want to say lastly before I open up for questions is that in this community, I can tell you, I answer to the people. I don't answer to nobody but the people and God. And I will always give you the truth. And the truth I'm about to give you from my perspective is that you have a police chief, you have a sheriff, you have district attorneys, you have people in this county who sit and are stakeholders that I will do every damn thing possible to hold each one of them accountable. And I expect them to do the same for me. Because at the end of the day, I do this for no reason other than this is my city. I was born and raised here, and I love this place. and I'm gonna do everything to make sure that I represent and do everything what is right, what is fair, and what is legal, as long as the people will have me. And even after that, I'm gonna still always stand up for what I believe is right. So I'll open up myself for questions. I wanna thank my brothers from Wake County for showing up, Buncombe County sheriffs, and Mecklenburg County. I appreciate you all for coming to mourn with me the loss of my grandmother. I don't take your presence lightly, and I want you to know that it means a lot that you showed up. But I'll open up myself for any questions that you may have. Yes, sir, I saw your hand first.
Sheriff Kimbrough, Joe Watson from W Media, we're live, we're streaming this live. What do you say to the parents that have boys that look like you and I, if they're stopped? What advice do you give? You know, our children at home can be one way. We get with our boys, it's easy to pop off. Or what do you say to that parent that's like, gotta protect his son?
I'm gonna tell you what I say to them, because you know, I have 7 boys, 7. All 5 of them live here in this county. 5 of them live here, right? One of them has dreads. One of them, I call him my half rebel and my half civilized. That's the joke that I have with him. And what I tell all of my boys is this, because see, when you stop my son in this county, they don't know that that's Jamison Kimbrough. You don't know that I'm Bobby Kimbrough if I'm in Stanley County. I'm just a black man when you stop me. And so what I tell my boys is this: when law enforcement stops you, you give them the utmost respect. You keep your hands where they can see them. You answer their questions. And you tell them, sir. Because what happens is, and I tell my boys this all the time, it's not the place on the side of the road to be an attorney. It's not. Dead men tell no lies. They don't even tell stories. They say nothing. What I want you to do is survive that stop. You survive that interaction with the police, because everything in life when 2 people meet is an interaction. And what determines how the interaction goes is how you respond to one another. And so I tell them to respond in a way that gets you the citation, gets you home, gets you to say, Dad, this is what happened, and then we deal with it from that point. So that's what I tell my boys. Show the most respect. Yes, sir, no, sir. You don't have to say sir. I know some people saying, well, sir is a submissive word. Yes and no is sufficient. But it's not the side of the road to show how bad you are, how tough you are, or how intelligent you are. Because officers are skilled in a skill set that you're not. And determining how you respond to me is the reaction that I'm gonna give you. Because the officer has a lot of discretion when he stops you. It could be a verbal warning, it could be a citation, and depending on where it goes from there, it could be a lot of other things. And so that's what I tell my boys. And I have 7 boys that look like you and me.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Rashida Kaba with Fox 8 News. So I know it has to be traumatic on both sides of the aisle, as an officer, as a black individual. Kind of how do you bridge that gap between authority figures and people of color right now in this moment?
So you know what? What I always remember, and what I said before, is that forget that I'm the sheriff. I'm still a human being. I'm still a representative in God's land. And I tell people this all the time. I'm gonna do what is right. The same conversation I'm having with you, I have it at the barber shop on 311, okay? Because people have to be transparent. You have to realize that we have a problem in this country. We do. We have race relationship problems in this country. But that don't mean we can't fix them. What it means is we can't sweep them under the rug and pretend that they don't exist. We have racism in the church. So if you have it in the church, you know you got it in every other profession under the sun. So we can't live our lives with blinders on. We have to address it, and when we see it, we have to respond to it. Period.
This question is from Adire with WFMY News 2, and it's for both of you individually. What are your agencies doing to actively ensure that what happened in Minneapolis does not happen with the officers under your command?
Well, I'll tell you what we do, and then I'll let my partner in crime prevention tell you what she does. What we have done here is that we have diversified this agency. It is more diverse than it has ever been. That is the first thing you need to do. We have diversity here that is never had here before. We have diversity here in decision-making positions. What also we have done is we have ongoing training. While we're sitting down here tonight, there's a classroom upstairs going through training right now. Right now, if you go upstairs, you'll see them in the training room. The other thing that we do is that I show my face on the streets, riding with my guys. I show my face in lineup with the guys, and I tell them, I show my face in the detention center, at his house. I show my face, and I say to them, I will back you if you're doing the right thing. But if you do the wrong thing, I promise you, that razor blade that makes you look good, if you mishandle it, will cut you. And that's how I move. And my guys know that. They know that if you do something wrong, you make a mistake, I did it, I make a mistake, we can survive that. Everybody, I don't care where you find them at on the street here, you're somebody. I came in yesterday morning early. There was a homeless guy on the street getting himself ready. He said, I'm moving. I said, take your time, sir. You got plenty of time. We sit there, we chat. I do that because that's who I am. But I teach, and I not teach, but I show the men and women that work here is that you are a servant of the people. And regardless of where you find them at, you treat them like somebody. I don't give a where you find them at. They are a human being. They're a child of God. And if I know that you've mishandled somebody, I promise you, you're going to have to put pen to paper and explain to me why. And if it's not sufficient, you're going to be unemployed, period.
Thank you for the question. And basically, much like the sheriff has said, the Winston-Salem Police Department, first off, we teach and require that our employees, both sworn and non-sworn, treat people with respect, dignity, and compassion. That is the expectation. We want, if we're talking community policing, which we've been a part of since 1989, it's about building relationships. It's about forging open dialogue and welcoming opinions that are different than our own. It's about understanding people who look different than we do. And it's about understanding and talking to people who have different religious backgrounds, who have different beliefs about anything. So in addition to having those open conversations during non-enforcement, non-contentious times, we also have certain required training. But many of our community members know that we have ongoing trust talks, that we work in conjunction with the City of Winston-Salem's Human Relations Department. And that's where we have open dialogue, where we're discussing all types of issues that creates barriers and trying to address perception issues. So it's that. It's things like this, coming out and addressing something that's going on in Minneapolis. As I stated, we have had several homicides right here in Winston-Salem that needs all of our attention, and we'll be getting it continuously. But we found it necessary to put pause from our schedules and to come here and to address this issue, because we know that if it's happening directly in Minnesota, in Minneapolis, it's indirectly affecting us here in Winston-Salem and Forsyth County and all over our state. And so it's training, it's open dialogue, it's communication as much as possible. We believe in partnerships. So we work with the Ministers' Conference of Winston-Salem and vicinity. We work with our mayor and our city council and our local leadership, our county commissioners. We work with the school system. We work with different nonprofit organizations, all at different times throughout the year, not waiting until a tragedy happens here. And let's be clear, although we have, as I mentioned, had these homicides as well as other incidents occurring right here, we have not lost a police department to a fire. We're not dealing with rioting. We're not dealing with civil unrest. But we know that if it can happen there, it can happen anywhere. So our hope is that we can continue to have dialogue. We can continue to kind of work through agreeing to disagree. that we continue our training, and that we learn from the experiences of others to try and be better as we move forward.
This is a question for both of you. Last night, protests kind of swept out in various cities across the country. Are you at all worried about protests turning violent here? And secondly, this morning, the president tweeted, if the looting starts, the shooting starts. How would your offices respond, or how would your individual departments respond to a protest of that nature?
So the question was, if we were aware that there were protests, small protests that broke out throughout the nation as a result of what's going on in Minneapolis, and how would we handle it here? At the end of the day, we're the United States of America, and there is a First Amendment right to free speech. If you want to protest, protesting is not an issue for us, as long as it's done in accordance with the law and it is not violent. That's how we express ourselves in the United States. And some people feel that that's the way that they need to go to really be heard. What we cannot tolerate is the violent rioting, destruction of property, burning, looting, hurting of other people. If we are saying that we are hurting because we feel like we're not being heard after someone has lost their life in the way that Mr. Floyd lost his life, how do we think or believe that it's okay to go out and continue to hurt others and continue the violence? I understand the frustration. And as law enforcement, I also understand that there is a process, that there is an investigation that needs to take place. But at the same time, I understand that people know what they saw. I saw it too. And so they're expecting that some type of legal and correct action will be taken to address it. But at the end of the day, we don't have an issue with people expressing themselves as long as it's done lawfully and peacefully. And that's our expectation. I have no comment as it pertains to the president's tweet. Chair?
I'll echo those sentiments that I have no comment as to what the president tweeted as well. But am I concerned about looting breaking out all over the country? The rioting? Of course I am. Of course we are. It would be foolish of us as leaders not to be concerned about that. And of course we do have a contingency plan, should that happen. But my prayer, as my mother would say, knock on wood, that the people believe that we have community credibility and that we have open dialogue and we're very transparent. And if there's an issue, I walk the streets every day here. She does. My door swings on welcome hinges. If there's a problem, we will address them. Joe? Yes, sir.
I have a shared question. Marion Jackson asked on Facebook for both of you. He said he's been stopped and he was talked to harshly. He gave respect. He said, what happens who do you contact after an officer, I guess, disrespects you? You make it home. I mean, his question is, who do you get in contact with?
Well, every law enforcement agency has a what we call Office of Personnel Responsibility in Internal Affairs. You can call the Internal Affairs Unit. You can stop at the front desk here and say, I'd like to speak to the sheriff or somebody in an investigation. I'd like to file a complaint, and someone will come down and address that. I've been through drive-through windows. I was at the drive-through window a couple weeks ago at Biscuitville on Peters Creek. Somebody said the sheriff at the drive-through. Girl left the grill and came to the window and said, Sheriff, I got a video I want to send you. I was stopped. I felt like this. And I said, ma'am, send me the video and I'll address it. She never sent me the video. When I went back through there, I asked for her. I said, what happened to the video? Because I want to address issues. So if somebody has been stopped or harmed or treated unfairly or they feel that way, I want to know about it. These guys want to know about it. My chief deputy, my majors, we want to know about it. You can send an email to That's Kimbrough, bf@fcso.us. You can stop by here, and I'll be glad to address it.
With the Winston-Salem Police Department, we have the Professional Standards Division. So anytime someone feel, and again, that they've been disrespected or treated discourteously during an interaction with police, they can ask to speak to the officer supervisor, or if they're not comfortable doing that, then they can certainly come down to the police department or call our Professional Standards Division and file a complaint. And we investigate all formal complaints with our agency.
Thank you.
All hearts and minds satisfied? We good?
We good?
Well, I appreciate what you all do. I thank you for coming. You guys do an awesome job in this community, and you also shape the thoughts of the people, and I appreciate what you do. Thank you very much.
Thanks, sir.
Appreciate you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Y'all leave, gentlemen?